All right, let's talk about the Valley. Jax Taylor, the publicist, I guess. Brittany, poor Brittany. It's always poor Brittany. And the big reason why I think the show should make a change if it does want to succeed. This is how you fix the Valley, the spinoff from Vanderpump Rules. This is what you do. You bring back Sheena. You pay Sheena top dollar. Sheena is the answer for this show. And you don't bring her on as a part-time. Sheena for the Valley, season 4. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know. What do you think? So this is certainly not the biggest deal ever, but I think it's to be said that finally, I think Sheena needs to come back to the Valley. The TV show, BravoTV, this hit reality show that may or may not be a hit anymore. Season 3, have you been watching all the seasons? I have kind of, but I don't love the show that much. Vanderpump Rules was such a success. And all I could say is watching season 3, I feel like I need Sheena to come back to the show. Some way, somehow, like we need to see Sheena back on the television. It was interesting because the Valley is a lot of chatter. People enjoy it, but a lot of people don't enjoy it. And I feel like the casting just doesn't make sense. There's a couple of cast members that I like, but I feel like I need to keep saying this. If the Valley's going to go on past season 3, who knows if it will, a cast shakeup does need to come into play, and it needs to be Sheena. I never knew I was going to be such a Sheena fan. Now, the thing about it is I want to talk about the Valley more, but I should talk about Sheena as she probably wanted to make a level up move. She wanted to level up her career and sort of get rid of the reality TV time. But see what happens? The show The Valley, it just doesn't do as good without her. Now, the biggest thing about The Valley that is, of course, the biggest conversation and cameras getting picked up again is Brittany and Jax Taylor and a publicist and a love triangle. Well, it technically wasn't a love triangle, but it is a little bit of a friendship triangle if you think about it. Brittany, the publicist, Jax, the publicist, though Brittany and Jax are not together, and Jax is not even on the show, the publicist kind of did one of those things where she apparently, evidently, and allegedly, made sure her client Jax was satisfied, we shall say. The funny thing about the show The Valley, for some reason, it's always sort of been Jax making errors and like everyone loving and kind of supporting Brittany, which does make sense because, to keep going through these things with him. But they are long not together anymore. And it just seems like it's one of those situations where I don't know, because for season after season, though this is not a good thing that Brittany has to take on, I feel like Brittany always is getting this like, oh, poor Brittany, but yet we don't really like enjoy her on the show. And there's something about the Valley that Brittany needs to not necessarily be such a focal point. And she always is. And it's always like poor Brittany on the basis of whatever Jax did when they were in a relationship. And even now that he's not on the show and they're not in a relationship. I think number one, first and foremost, is that they do share a kid together, and that, needs to be, handled with care. So to have Brittany's publicist double up and go give Jax the business, even if he's not on the show, it definitely, I can see how it could hurt. But as far as like Brittany and them picking up cameras, the production team for Bravo TV, Brittany, if this is going to be the thing that's thinking the Valley will be saved, the show will now be reinvigorated for a season 4, I'm not sure that I actually think it's where, it just doesn't seem like where the show could go. And never really is a time where I'm going to defend Jax per se, because Jax, of course, has had his times, but he also was very instrumental in the early Vanderpump Rules, and you say what you want to say, he was interesting and entertaining, and he did make the show back in the Stassi days. But what I thought was maybe something to be concerned about too is, though everyone signs up for this, and this is the roles of life that Jax did want to do, I think of it as, if this does get spun out of control and it does, cameras get picked up and Brittany versus Jax, one of those situations yet again, I think one thing I would be concerned about, and this is just being concerned whether you like the person or not, is Jax, facing sobriety and stuff of that nature, and being kind of at a place where you don't necessarily want him to unravel because, again, him and Brittany do share a kid together. And even if a person doesn't do good on the reality TV show and it's time for them to leave based on their own bad behavior, you just don't want bad for them. But then one would also say, well, then why is Jax, messing around essentially behind behind everyone's back with the Publicist. Like, the whole thing is interesting. But I say all that to say that I don't know if the addition of Lala, I know I'm jumping all around, Lala and Schwartz were enough to make this show that good, The Valley. I find that the Summer House into the In the City show, that little spinoff works a little bit better. You got your core characters like Amanda, Kyle, and Lindsay, the star Lindsay is, and then a new group. And the stories feel a little bit different. They feel fresh. They feel reinvigorated. I don't know. Vanderpump Rules to The Valley might have been a different formula and format, but I'm not really enjoying it all the way. And the funny thing is, I'm not watching every show, so I really shouldn't speak too much. But from what I saw, here's what I'm thinking about Nia and Danny. Danny has been amazing throughout the early seasons, and I think that whatever it was going to be, this last season, season 3, he was going to have to assume the villain, the bad guy role because of Jax. And it's funny, it's not like I'm typically one that would like defend Danny, but it's not that I'm defending Danny. It's that I think what's happening is so much rallying is going on behind Nia, which is fine. But haven't you been in that situation where if you have somebody you know and care about, they're going to like who they're going to like. So even if you see it as like, oh, Nia, Danny's treating you wrong, like laying into that and kind of nudging her to feel a certain way about the person she loves, the father of 4 of her kids, doesn't make sense. And I feel like if anything, some of the people in this friend group in the Valley, they're pushing too hard. You have to think about it like this. At one point, Nia, if she wants to, express, like, okay, so if Nia ever wanted to, and she probably did express a little bit of her hardships with just being a busy mother and work and marriage and holding it all together, but unless it's her constantly complaining or seeking, the comfort in the group, or, needing them as a confidant for her to vent, then I think that's the only way that it really works. But Nia really, she'll be going through what she goes through, but she seems to still stand by her man, So I think if anything, the break and the division essentially is from all these cast members who, if you looked at the mirror, and they're welcome to have these opinions, but if you looked in the mirror of their own lives, like, your marriage ain't even good. Are you even married? One of those things. So it's not like I'm riding and siding for Danny and Nia, but I find them very interesting. I find it interesting that she is the most gorgeous, supermodel and all these things, but she has such a warm, level head, and she handles all of Danny's BS. But again, if the nucleus within them, if they like each other, you're going to be hard pressed to try to get in on that and try to convince. It just doesn't do well. And if anything, Nia at some point will seek friendships elsewhere. I just don't see it. And you have to think about that in day-to-day, your real life is like, if you ever know somebody who is kind of in a situation that you don't like, you have to receive them, but you can't push upon them because it's only going to make things worse. And I know Lala, that's like her big thing. Now, because I'm being fair about not watching every episode, maybe Danny did, jump out the window, so to speak, and maybe we should critique him more. But generally speaking, I just don't want to forget that season 1 and 2, he was very entertaining. Jesse, I think all 3 seasons has been entertaining. Zach, he's fine. They're all good. Kristen, I feel like I wish there was more Kristen. And I think generally the show has potential. Brittany being the star of the show and the one we feel sorry for, though there's reasons too. I don't know. I don't even think I liked Brittany when she came onto Vanderpump Rules. I never really got it. And then she married him and he did what he did. And it was just kind of, it feels like the Ferris wheel is going and there's no surprise within it all. So to have a scene of her saying, I can't believe it, the disloyalty, and this was my publicist and my manager, and, your money out of my pocket. And it just, to me, that I don't know why the show usually focuses on Brittany. So then I say, is that a term? I say this to say, Sheena should come back. If the show wants to be saved, you have to bring Sheena back. Sheena could essentially have a little humble pie too. I don't think what she tried to do was wrong. She went on to, think, hey, I'm going to leave reality TV and be the next Ariana. I'm going to be the next Sierra. I'm going to be the next Lindsay Hubbard. And it didn't really work. And now she's sort of left in a particular situation. But Sheena can always tell a good story. I think Sheena Sheena, if you think about it, Sheena with Eddie Cibrian, Sheena with Jesse McCartney. Was that his name? Not Jesse McCartney, whatever his name is, the one that was from Desperate Housewives, the TV show, the lawnmower gardener. Yes. There's something, Sheena, when she was even on the hills, like there's something so special about Sheena. And because she tried to stand for herself and want more money, I'm sure maybe was the reason she left the Valley. I think the Valley should not be stubborn about it. And I think she should not be stubborn about it. And she gets back into the show. The problem is when she did the show originally on the Valley, she was such a bit character. She was like a friend of. She had a small role. I say you lay into Sheena's vulnerabilities, she seems to be very sweet. I mean, when you'd watch the show originally, Vanderpump Rules, it was always Stassi being so mean and Sheena being like, at the very end of the day, she would always take Stassi back, so to speak, as friends because she had a warm heart, but she would be a bit goofy with her decision making, but that was what was lovable about Sheena and lovable reality TV. I don't know. That is just the question. The Valley season 3, is it a wrap completely? Or picking up the cameras with Brittany and the stories of Jax and the Publicist, is that worth the while? And you know, what needs to be done for the show to go on for a 4th season, or is the show just had it? I also want to know what you think about Vanderpump Rules, the reboot, because I'm one of the few people that actually liked it. Audrey, you had Marcus, you had Kim, you had the Ariana Grande of Sir. So the funny thing about these shows is 1 year a show could miss and the next year a show could hit. And I think that if the Valley does continue on to a season 4, without question, maybe less of Brittany, more of Kristen. Lala's fine, although I think Lala got a 4th podcast at iHeart. So crazy. iHeart is like Clear Channel. I worked there like 20 years ago. It's just so crazy where things have all went. My point being, do all what you do for the Valley. This is my opinion. I think Sheena needs to go back to the Valley and be the right kind of cuckoo bird that she always was. She kind of made the show. She's good as gold. So anyways, that is my answer on how you fix the Valley on Bravo TV. And adding to that, are you watching In the City? Which one's better? Vanderpump Rules to the Valley or Summer House to In the City? I think it's In the City, but then again, it's Lindsay and Danielle. Oh, Danielle gave her a piece of her mind too. That show is good. But if we are hoping for the Valley to do good in a 4th season, is Sheena the answer? I kind of think she is.